All right. I don't know why I'm thinking this is a special edition of More Than Just a Movie. I really couldn't get my background like I wanted because we're in the middle of it. But in case you don't know, we are doing more than just a movie. We break down classic Black hit films, hits. I said hits because we talking about New Edition. All right. I already said before we start, this is going to be my favorite episode of More Than Just a Movie. If you've been under a rock the last 40 years and you didn't know me or you don't know New Edition, definitely shame on you, shame on your parents, your grandmama and them, and your aunties and them. We are talking about the New Edition story today on More Than Just a Movie. I got so excited, I even did the wrong intro. Come on, y'all. And I know why I just played reviews and news, because on my YouTube channel, New Edition has their own playlist. It's called New Edition News Central. So all things New Edition are on that platform. So that's when I usually do my reviews and news, because I'm talking about New Edition. But this is more than just a movie. I even had to represent today. I have so many New Edition shirts, and I was like, which one shall I wear? And the one I wore today is when they got their Hollywood Walk of Fame star. And yes, I went to Hollywood in 2017 to see them get their Hollywood Walk of Fame star. So shout out to Chanel. She just called me. I was like, I'm about to do the New Edition. She was like, oh, I did see that. Shout out to Chanel, Tamia, Tanya. We bunked up and we went to go see New Edition get their Hollywood Walk of Fame star. But before that, I got a sneak preview of this movie. I don't even know where to start. That's how excited I am. All right. Let me just say this. And Leroy, I'm going to give you a chance to talk. I promise. Woo! Okay. So I got a chance to see the New Edition story before it came out twice. The first time I went in DC with Basine, who will join us at the end of the show. And I took Chanel along and one of Basine's friends. And we got to see the it was in 3 parts. We got to see the first part in the theater with New Edition there to see their movie for the first time. So this is before everybody saw it on BET. It came out in 2017. We still saw it in 2017, but it was before the premiere. So the sneak preview of the first part. And it was phenomenal after the first part showed on the big movie screen in DC. The fellas walked out and they were on the stage and they wanted to know what we thought of the New Edition story. So, of course, I was one of the people that got up and told them. And I don't know what I said all the way, but I spoke from my heart. And I remember saying something, you're the fabric of our lives, blah, 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 blah. And whatever I said, people started clapping. And everybody after that was like, you said what I was thinking. You said what I was thinking. Oh, my God, that's how I felt. That's how I thought. And that's how us NE for Lifers are. We love New Edition. I fell in love with New Edition at 10 years old, even before they came out. When I was in Boston, Massachusetts, I seen them performing in parks before they had their first hit, when they were doing like covers and different things like that. And I left Boston right when they were getting ready to hit. And it's just been love ever since. And I got it. So I don't want to take up all of that time talking about this, because I really want to talk about the movie. But if you love New Edition like I do, you have to subscribe to this channel and go to the New Edition News Central playlist. And I did a lot of different things on there with a lot of different shows I've been to. Okay. With that being said, I'm just going to welcome Leroy before I start talking about this. Leroy, don't be laughing.
Good night. Thank you all for good night. Thank you all for coming. We'll see y'all next time.
Leroy, like that's the only thing he gonna be able to get out today. If y'all think I'll be talking any other show, then oh my God, today. No, but I'm gonna keep it like we do the real ones. But let me just, for those that don't know, we are talking about the New Edition story. It premiered in 3 parts on BET on 2017. All right, let me just, if you don't know who New Edition is, if you just somebody's lost child and don't know and you stumbled upon this, let me just educate y'all for a minute. And I'm going to read it like I don't know the story because I want to keep it professional. So New Edition is an American R&B pop group from Roxbury neighborhood of Boston, Massachusetts, formed in 1978 by my fave, Bobby Brown. Their name is taken to mean new edition of the Jackson 5. The group reached its height of popularity in the 1980s. The lineup originally consisted of Ricky Bell, which is Ricardo Bell, Michael Bivins, Bobby Brown, that's Robert Beresford Brown, Ronnie DeVoe, Ronald DeVoe, and senior now because he has kids, and Ralph Tresvant. Brown left the group in 1985 to begin a successful solo career that continued. The quartet continued for one album before adding Johnny Gill to the lineup in 1987. Early hits include Candy Girl, Cool It Now, and Mr. Telephone Man. Tresvant was the lead singer on most of the songs. In 1990, both Gill and Tresvant released their own solo albums, while remaining 3 members formed the trio Bell Biv DeVoe. The group ceased to work together for the first half of the 90s. All 6 members of New Edition reunited in 1996. Oh my God, I cried. To record the group's 6th studio album, Home Again. During the ill-fated Home Again tour, that's because all of them was wilding out, and they show this in the movie. Brown and Bivins quit the group, forcing the remainder of the tour to be canceled. Various reunions have occurred since, usually with between 1997 and 1990 lineup, through occasionally also including Bobby Brown. Their last studio album was in 2004, which was One Love. On May 3rd, 2011, New Edition issued a press release on their official website announcing that the 6 members were reuniting as New Edition to kick off a 30th anniversary celebration of Candy Girl with their fans. They received the star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame on January 23rd, 2017. I was there. On January 24th, the very next day, 3-part docuseries, The BET Story, premiered on BET about the group's career and personal life. It was later announced that all 6 members would reunite to record another album and go on tour. All right, so I'm just going to stop right there. So they didn't go on that tour, and there was some mess going on with the boy groups, as you know, and they didn't. So who went on tour right after was RBRM, which was Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, and Mike, and me and Chanel, Tamia. We were all at that tour. Ralph later said on his special, A Closer Look, which was on the All Black Network, that he was devastated, hurt, and felt betrayed because it was supposed to be a New Edition tour right after the movie. But instead, Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, and Mike went on tour, and they didn't tell Ralph. And that's how he started kind of like singing with Johnny, and we just went to a tour a couple of weeks ago with them. So all of that drama and some more drama in the whole life story of New Edition is in the New Edition story. So let me just read that part, and then we're going to start talking about it. My daughter was like, you don't need to see that movie another time to even talk about this show right now. You don't even have to prepare. You ain't got to do nothing. So let me talk about the film, and then we're going to go right into it. All right. Again, the 3-part miniseries, The New Edition story, follows the group from their humble beginning as kids in Boston to global mega stardom, weathering the highs and the lows, the controversies, personal change, and ultimate cost of fame. 1978, 11-year-old Bobby Brown convinces Ricky Bell, his friend, Mike Bivins and Ralph Tresvant to perform at local talent shows. The boys are discovered soon after and sign a record deal and produce their first #1 hit, Candy Girl. Years later, tension within the group forms. Bobby Brown is kicked out of the group, and New Edition is never the same. I didn't say that. It's right here in the bio. All right, so again, this movie came out January 24th, 2017. It was directed by Chris Robinson. He is a Leroy, he's a Baltimore native. Chris Robinson did a phenomenal job on this. All right, so this cast is Keith Powers, which my daughter, who she loves, Keith Powers as Ronnie DeVoe, Algie Smith as Ralph, Miles Truitt as Ralph when he was little. My boy Dwayne Martin is in this. So many, Tank is in it. So many different people are in this cast. All right, Leroy, you just go ahead and talk. What you got to say?
No, I think that the story was very well put together. Actually, and I guess it was too long to be a regular movie because if you put those 3 parts together, they were like a couple hours each, weren't they? They were like 2 hours each. So they really you couldn't fit all of their shoot. You're talking 30 years. Of who they were. Into that story. So I guess it was best that it was done through the 3-part series. Because there was so much to talk about with this group. And I mean, they were still are. You think about their music is gonna live on forever. But they were an integral part of, especially those of us that are now in generation. They were an integral part of our lives, in the music that we listen to. Yeah, the music.
My mom was gonna have this come in one time because my room, it looked like wallpaper, like all the posters all over the place. It looked like it was wallpaper. Like New Edition was everything. And my mom still be like, I don't see how you still love them the same. My mom said that to me, like, you're still going to concerts, you still love them the same. And I do. The first concert I ever could have gone to, my mom didn't let me go because it was in a nightclub in Atlantic City, New Jersey. It was in a nightclub, but I was trying to explain and convince to her that it's not going to be the nightclub crowd. It's going to be the little kids like me. But it was a nightclub and I couldn't go. And the place was called Club Harlem in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And I didn't. But Lord knows, as I was growing up and as an adult, I done made up for it. I don't even know how many times I have seen them in concert. That's how many times I've seen them. I don't even know how many. And
we know you. We know you're an honorary member of New Edition, so that's what you do.
Kind of. Okay, but so this showed Bashir Y. Gray. We know him from Empire. He played Michael Bivins. Elijah Kelly, who is super uber talented. He played Ricky Bell. Luke James played Johnny Gill as they grew up. Of course, we had younger ones. And I got a chance to meet younger Bobby Brown and so many people when I went to the Hollywood Walk of Fame VIP brunch. So, like I said, we went to Hollywood to see them get their Hollywood Walk of Fame star, but we also were at a VIP brunch. So, Bow-Legged Lou was there. We got a chance to do a video, and little Bobby Brown, I made him do a Snapchat then. I have to post that later. He played Bobby Brown, then Yvette Nicole Brown, who played Michael Bivins' mom. So many people were there, all the members of Troop. Were there. I got a chance to talk to them, and I just love that. Even Chico Berryman, who's on the show Half and Half, like so many different people. Melvin, who played Curtis Blow in the movie. So I got a chance to meet so many different people that day. And no matter what their claim to fame was, or no matter how famous they were, I thought it was so dope that they all love New Edition. You know what I mean? Like they're like the group that all the celebrities love. Like you hear Gabrielle Union going off about New Edition, the girls from SWV, especially Taj. Like that's like the group that all the cool kids like. You know what I mean? Even if they're like up here, if you're looking at that person like, oh, they're famous, but they love New Edition. Do you love New Edition like that, Leroy?
I ain't gonna say like that, but like I said, we grew up with them. They were the same age as us.
Yeah.
So growing up with them, growing up with the music that they put out there, even the people that you just mentioned, all of us are around the same age. So
Yeah.
New Edition was a part of, like I said, they were a part of us growing up.
Yeah.
So I think that's the real connection that I think all of us have.
Yeah.
Because one, I also believe too that their songs bring back certain memories.
Yeah.
Because we know when Candy Girl first came out.
Yeah.
We know when Mr. Telephone Man was out.
Yeah.
We know even before. Did Bobby's album? No, it must have came out after he left New Edition. Because I always love my favorite song by Bobby Brown is "I Need a Girlfriend." And not too many folks know about that.
Where he had that blue sweater on that video.
Yep,
let me tell you, we all wanted to be his girlfriend that he needed.
Yep. This is before My Prerogative. People don't know really think about that album when they think about Bobby Brown.
King of Stage
but,
is the album.
What is it?
King of Stage.
Oh, okay, right. So that that is my favorite, because I remember as a young boy singing that song. You thinking about that popcorn love, as New Edition called it.
And there's more than that to me. Popcorn love. Just wait.
So
they will see pop. Okay, I'm sorry.
All of that. Those. I mean, that to us is who New Edition is to us.
Yeah.
So we can all relate to those those songs, and honestly, I mean, and we're going as we talk about the story, to see that they're all still alive.
Man, oh man, what a blessing.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, 100%. I know exactly what you're saying. And I think about that often, Leroy. And I really thank God for that, because, as we see in the movie, they've all had a tough time, whether it was alcoholism, drug abuse, depression, failed careers, failed relationships, miscarriages, the loss of children. I mean, New Edition has experienced so much, having no money, being broke, having to climb back up out of the hole, so many different things that they have all gone through professionally and personally. And to honestly see all 6 of them there, even Johnny. I love Johnny, my Gemini brother, but I wasn't too happy when he joined the group. I just wasn't. And they talk about that in the movie as well. Like when Johnny Gill came to the group, Ralph thought that it was to replace Bobby, but it was really to replace Ralph, because Ralph, and they talk about it in the movie, he could have gone solo. They originally wanted to sign Maurice Starr. He just really wanted to sign Ralph. He wanted him to lead the fellas, and he was like, I can't do that, and I can't go back to my friends into the hood and do this. Like, no. So he's super duper loyal. So he was like, if you want me, you want the fellas. And for him to continuously to keep putting his career on hold, and they show his girlfriend at the time, his longtime girlfriend then, to continue to put it on hold for the betterment of the group, that he kind of kept missing his window, and the record companies, which they talk about in the movie, kind of wanted to keep him in New Edition because they knew he was part of the cash cow. And every time he wanted to do a solo album, they were like, is it going to be bigger than New Edition Heartbreak? Is it going to be bigger? And it wasn't. And he never really got a chance until Sensitivity to put that out. But it's just so interesting when you start. So let's start from the beginning. And then, of course, Woody McClain, he played the heck out of Bobby Brown. Now, what people don't know about Woody McClain is a dancer. He wasn't an actor. This was his first role as an actor. He was a background dancer, I believe, for, don't quote me, Britney Spears, like a lot of different people in the industry. So he already had the Bobby Brown moves down. Because y'all can sleep. Y'all look at Bobby Brown now. I hear people saying he's an old man. He looked like TD Jakes. People dogging my boy. He ain't on no drugs, and he ain't on no narcotics or alcohol. So of course he loves to cook. He got the Bobby Brown food line, which I got upstairs. He loves to cook. And he was gaining a little weight. I mean, what you expect? But Woody McClain, oh my God, and he later went on to do the Bobby Brown story. He killed the role of Bobby Brown. Like, he was phenomenal. Algie Smith just murdered the role of Ralph. Oh, Luke James, Johnny Gill. I mean, even Keith Powers with Ronnie. The casting in this movie was so phenomenal that the little kids really think that they are New Edition. That's how great they did. The little kids. So I love the fact in 2017, now my kids came out the womb knowing who New Edition was and knowing the songs. It's on their playlist. They know. But some kids didn't know who New Edition was until this movie. And you've seen all these TikToks and all these IG posts and all of this with all of these little kids discovering New Edition. Like, it was beautiful. What you think, Leroy?
No, but it's I look at New Edition, and their careers didn't span as long as Michael, excuse me, as long as Michael Jackson's did. But there was a new I'm sorry, y'all, my throat. There was a new generation that was introduced to Michael Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Michael Jackson's career goes from our grandmothers,
mm-hmm.
maybe even some great grandmothers,
mm-hmm.
all the way to and through our kids.
Yeah.
That's how long his career was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same thing with New Edition. New Edition's career spans at least
40 years.
At least 2 generations.
Yeah. Facts.
At least 2 generations. So when I think it's let's say you said introducing to another generation, but
mm-hmm.
that's what great music, that's what great the movies that we do, reintroducing people to stuff that to a new generation.
Yeah.
Because they might not have readily been introduced to them. That's what it does. So you can do these biopics, these great movies about these great artists, or even great people that have their careers are worth telling the story about.
Yes.
And that's what New Edition is. And it cuts. I mean, their music is timeless.
Yeah.
You could put I would put any New Edition song against any and most music out here today. You know what I'm saying? And it would be a hit today, just like it was a hit back then. That's just how how great the music were. And I mean, and they were probably the second most famous group to me.
Mm-hmm.
And the Jackson 5 is the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And they were mimicked. They were created in the tradition
of Jackson 5. That's where their name came from.
That's what I mean. Everything that you see them on stage, everything that you see them. If you go back and watch footages of their performances, and you can probably talk about the concerts, mm-hmm. the steps, all of that.
But they lasted longer than the Jackson 5.
Yeah, absolutely. And they lasted longer than some of the groups before the Jackson 5. Let's say you take the Temptations, you take the Dells, you take the who else was who am I thinking about? The Temptations, Dells. Who else had like a number of members? But those groups
was only 3, but
but all of them
and all of that.
Right. The state the Delphonics and all of them, those groups were great, but there was something about New Edition.
Yeah.
There was something about the Jackson 5 that was just different.
Yeah.
You know, the music just touched has touched so many generations, and like you said, your kids grew up knowing who New Edition
Yeah,
was.
without
You
a
know,
doubt.
and if you were in any of most of the black households, those of us that are in our generation, yeah, your kids now should know who New Edition
They better,
New
if
Edition
they
is.
don't know, let me come into your home. Put this video on. Let them
You
know.
know,
Shame on you as a parent. You are not doing your job as a parent if your kids don't know who New Edition is. You are not dealing.
yeah.
I did a TikTok one time or a video where I was in the car with my daughter, my 23-year-old daughter, and we were just listening to her playlist on rotation. And one of her favorite songs is Bobby Brown's Tenderoni. And it just circles around on the playlist. And I was like, that's when you know you done your job as a parent. That Bobby Brown comes rolling around on your 23-year-old daughter's playlist. That's what I'm talking
All
about.
right.
You know.
I got a question. I got a question for you, and then we're gonna get into how the beginning of the movie. Rock with You remix or Roni
Here you go.
or Roni.
I love Roni, but that Rock With You remix is fire.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it.
It's fire.
It was straight fire.
I'm sorry. I love them both with that remix, and I can picture the video and how he was with that vest on. Yep. I know. I'm telling you, anything that you say New Edition, I can picture a video. I can picture a picture. I can picture a still. Like that's how far it goes. But yeah, that one. That rock.
Yeah, I don't know who decided to do that remix and who decided to do that video, but whoever that was, great job. They need a raise.
As soon as this is over, I'm about to put it on.
That's one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite Bobby Brown songs. Is that Rock With You? That Rock With You remix, man. So, yes. But let's talk about how they got started, though.
Okay, so let's start from the beginning of the movie. I just want to say that they even spotlighted a whole song, one of my all-time favorite. I love all the New Edition songs, but it's like 3 or 4 that really, and one of them was My Kind of Girl. Sorry, You're Not My Kind of Girl.
Yes.
They did a whole, with the white suits on, they did a whole performance, the cast of that, and that's my jam. Yeah. My daughter always be like, that is so ignorant. It's not your look, it's not your body. But you know, you beautiful and everything, but you just not my kind of girl.
But, and we were saying that too. It was probably like the nicest way to tell somebody you didn't like it. You know,
it's not your look, it's not your style, it's not the way that you get. I'm sorry. You know, you beautiful, but you just not my kind of girl.
My type of girl.
You know. And they like you very pretty, you know, they just go and compliment you. But that's when you don't even know you've been dissed. They compliment you.
But is it a diss? Is it a diss though? Is it really a diss telling somebody?
If they're their kind of man.
No. How many of us have been rejected?
Oh, yeah, rejection doesn't, but I'm saying it hurts worse if that is the girl's type of guy, and he's like, "Yeah, I know you feeling me.
No,
you ain't my type."
You gonna go there. You gonna go there. You gonna go there. No, because men we get rejected all day, every day. So don't go there.
Y'all be shooting y'all shot. I'm telling you that it still hurts. I ain't going there. I'm just telling you, it's still like chop, chop, chop. All right, so let's start from the beginning. Starts from the beginning, of course, Bobby Brown. And we're just going to skip around because, of course, clearly we can't do all 3, parts in an hour and a half. But so it starts with Bobby Brown, of course, singing at talent shows. And he's so scared. He runs into his sister's arms and he's scared to perform, even though he's a performer. So he goes to go get his friends, and then one friend gets another friend. So he goes to Ricky, and then they tell him about Ralph, and Ralph is in the neighborhood doing kung fu. That was such a funny part when Ralph was sitting up there doing kung fu, and they played Everybody Was Kung Fu Fighting. And they show Ralph and they're looking and they're like, this guy. So then they get him on board. And then, you know, Ronnie is the last one to join because his uncle is Brooke Payne. Shout out to Brooke Payne, one of the most amazing choreographers and music people. And he does not get enough credit. New Edition would not, well, he gets credit from New Edition. He's like the 7th member. New Edition would not be New Edition if it was not for Brooke Payne. So I am giving Brooke Payne his flowers right now. I got to find that picture of me and Brooke Payne. I forgot about that one. But New Edition wouldn't be who they were without who they are without New Edition, without Brooke Payne. I don't know why I keep saying New Edition. So
they approached him.
Yes. So
about being
so let's show. So he was in a famous group, a local group, and he's known to manage groups in Boston. And just think about how talented and how smart you are. That as little kids, you know that you need representation. You know that you're so serious about this at little ages, 7, 8, 9 years old, that you know that you need representation, that you're going to go find someone in the industry who is going to be a perfect fit for you. Now, this is before Ronnie DeVoe. That's Ronnie's uncle, his mom's brother, but he didn't even know Ronnie. So little kids to find him at a club and to say, hey, you know, we want you to represent us and we want you to be our manager, and then start performing for him in the street. Like, tell me that's not you. They got it. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't build that. You can't give kids that. They have that. And I love the fact that they showed it in the movie. And then, of course, Brooke Payne saw that these boys were talented and was like, I'm going to work with you. So he worked with them to, anybody remember the song? I give a hint, Jeffrey Osborne and LTD. They kept performing to, that's all they would perform to.
Okay.
They, you know, that the love is gone. That's no lie. Hold on. I can't sing, so
yeah. Okay.
But that's what they perform to all the time, and that was one of the songs that they performed to. So Bobby Brown, of course, he needed his friends. He said he would do great if he had them. They started going into talent shows, winning talent shows, not winning talent shows, but having the eyes on them. Maurice Starr sees them. And of course, they didn't win the talent show, the talent show, but he still saw them and they were still able to get a record deal.
So let those of you that are artists out there, those of you that are entrepreneurs as well, understand sometimes it's not always about winning a competition.
Nope.
Winning something. It's about who's in the room.
Yeah.
Maurice Starr being in that room got new. How many, let me ask y'all this. How many of those other groups, let's just take the groups that won those talent contests.
Where they at?
Have you ever heard of any of them?
Where y'all at?
I ain't heard not one of them. I've never heard of not one of them being, getting a record deal. So understand that it's not always about winning a contest, and that if you the only way that you can get put on is if you win the contest. No,
you gotta come. You gotta show up.
You gotta show up, and when you show up and you do what you do, when you have that talent, or as Kendéll said, when you got it, they gonna see it.
They're gonna see it.
They will see it.
Yeah. And that was a time before you can have it at home like we're doing right now. Like you had to really, you couldn't just sit home. Like you really had to get out there. Like you couldn't just sit home, because now you can sit home and be discovered through the screen.
Correct. You can do it right. You can do it right on your phone.
Right. You had to go. You had to make yourself seen. You had to enter the talent shows. You had to be the group that people were talking about, and New Edition was the group people were talking about. and everybody was listening. And Brooke Payne, I'm going to say it a million times. If it was not for Brooke Payne, we would not know New Edition the way New Edition is. Their technique, their dance skills, their performances, still to this day, I will put any group, any performer against New Edition. New Edition does not play. Every I is dotted, every T is crossed, every move is in sync. Except, when Bobby came back, my boy, and sometimes but he already talked about it on his reality show. Y'all can go to that review or on the New Edition Central playlist right here on my channel. With Bobby Brown, he had a heart attack, he had a stroke, he had his knee surgeries, he had all of that, so he couldn't move like he normally moves. So the guys still be going. And New Edition, somebody can leave the stage. They're so seamless that you don't even know somebody left the stage. They are, and that's Brooke Payne. So he embedded that in them, and they're still star performers. No matter
Here's the thing. They could leave the stage and come right back and get right in step. Don't miss it.
Let me tell you something. When I just saw them in the culture tour, the new tour that they just had with all of them together in February, Bobby Brown had, I think, it was just crazy that day because Mike Bivens, who's always on the stage, always perform, he had like a stomach bug. They had like a VIP brunch or something right before, so a couple of them got sick, Bobby and Mike, but they were coming in and out. And that was the first time I seen them where they were doing that. I talk about this on this channel too. You got to check that out. But you don't even realize. For a minute, I didn't even realize that somebody was missing and that Bobby had dipped off, or that I didn't, because they just pick up. It's just such a well-oiled machine. So they go through their whole lives. I love how in this movie, they spotlight everyone. I love how they tell the story of Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, Mike, Ralph, and Johnny. Like, it's not, they talk about Ralph's life and his personal life and his stuff. Then they show Ronnie's and his. Then they show, but Ronnie joined the group, of course, a little after, but it was also before Candy Girl. So before they made it big, Ronnie, they needed another member. He wanted to round it out. And Ronnie had to audition, even though Brooke was his uncle. The guy still had to like him. And I love the fact in the movie when Ronnie came and they were all doing the dances, and I love that Brooke had them turned around and they had to do it. No, Brooke turned around and he can tell just if someone is off step or off beat, off key. He knew exactly who it was with his back turned. You remember that part? That was deep.
That's deep. That's being so in tuned to your craft, because and I remember this working in the hospitality industry, working in hotel industries. Each hotel has their own software system, right? So you have to know the system. And so me being when I was a front office manager, I would get phone calls at night. System goes down, system, something happens with the system and they need to be able to bring the system back up. I could literally see in my mind what the system looked like, where they were, what happened, and get them back to bringing the system back up. That's what that is. Knowing you're so in tune to what it is that you do, that you can visualize and you can hear what it is that folks are doing. You know the errors. You know where somebody is. I mean, that's powerful.
It's powerful. I agree. It's deep. It's deep. Yeah. Like you said, it's just when you're connected and kind of in tune with that. It's deep. And of course, then Ronnie gets in the group, and then it takes us through the journey. I want to read some trivia, and then we can talk about different things, because I could be all over the place, and I don't want to be too, even though we do skip around scenes, we don't go scene by scene in this show. But I want to just read some trivia from the New Edition story. Not New Edition, but New Edition story. because we want to make sure we separate it because this is more than just a movie. All right, so the movie has been in the works for 26 years at that point. The first attempt to make a movie was in 1990 and was intended to be in the theaters, released entitled Orchard Park with a runtime of 2.5 hours. So originally in 1990, it was going to be in a movie and it was going to be called Orchard Park. That's where they're from. And I'm glad that didn't work out. In 1990, that was like when they were, even though it was 26 years, I'm glad they waited. So also all members of New Edition are co-producers on this biopic. They worked one-on-one with the actors who were portraying them extensively so that the actors could emulate their mannerism and speaking patterns truthfully. Like I said, the casting was phenomenal. Sometimes you get these TV movies and like, no diss to Angela Bassett, but when she died, I always talk about this when Yaya was new, Whitney Houston, Yaya did a great job. But that fella who did Bobby Brown, that wig, I don't know where they got that man from. I ain't never seen him before, and I ain't never seen him after playing Bobby Brown. You know, some of those Lifetime ones, they don't get it right. But BET got this one right. Everybody was amazing. The casting was phenomenal. All right, so one day prior to the release of the miniseries, New Edition received a Hollywood Walk of Fame star, along with several recording artists that year. Daryl Hall and John Oates. Who don't love Hall and Oates?
You know what I'm saying?
Right. John Legend, Selena, and NSYNC. All right. So New Edition story, as we told you, was broke viewing records. So let me just pause. So this New Edition story broke records over at BET, being the most watched premiere in 5 years for 3 consecutive nights. Duh, we already knew that was going to happen. Because let me tell you something about us new NE for lifers. So we're not even, let's just talk about the New Edition fans, family, New Edition for lifers. That's already. Then you have people like Leroy and everybody else who actually really love New Edition. Come on now, that was a no-brainer. I knew they knew that. So New Edition songs as well as the solo hits were recreated for the miniseries. None of the original members' actual voices are on the song. So we do know that. They can, because the cast, phenomenal in acting and singing. New additions, let me see. So young Ricky Bell, Caleb McLaughlin, and young Ralph Tresvant, Jahai Diallo, both played the role of young Simba in The Lion King on Broadway. All 11 cast members who played the young and the elder counterparts on the band, this was so phenomenal, joined the real New Edition on stage. For encore performance of If It Isn't Love in the 2017 BET Awards. Now, if y'all have not seen that, did you see that, Leroy?
No.
So let me tell you that right there. So on the 2017 BET Awards, New Edition.
Oh yeah, I did. No, I did see that. Yeah. Yes, I did.
All the cast. That. That was so good. That was all of them. So they had everybody who played New Edition and New Edition from the New Edition story was on that stage. All right. So Faison Love, who played Maurice Starr, appeared in Ralph Tresvant and Bobby Brown appeared with Ralph and Bobby on the Real Housewives of Husbands, Real Husbands of Hollywood. Sorry. In 2013. All right, Luke James and Elijah Kelly, they starred together on the show Star. I don't know. I watched that. Did you ever watch that? It was actually good. It was actually a good show. So for those of you, if you watch Star, it was a good show. So both of them were on there. And then, of course, reunited on the New Edition story. All right.
But Luke James is also on The Chi, the show The Chi now.
Yeah. He can
So
sing his face off.
yeah, he can. Yeah, he can. And I'm surprised he hasn't done more with music though. He's kind of, I think, leaned more towards the acting. You
He
know.
did music before, but I guess
Yeah.
he finds projects that he can do both. That's what it
Yeah.
seems like. Because
Yeah.
even on Star, he sang. That's
Yeah.
what he did. He sang on that
Yeah.
show. Bashir Gray, Elijah Kelly, Luke James, Keith Powers, Algie Smith, and many other actors revised their roles in a spinoff biopic, the Bobby Brown story, which came a year later in 2018. So the New Edition story was 2017. Bobby's was 2018. Wood Harris and Dwayne Martin starred together in 1994's Above the Rim. So Wood Harris played Brooke Payne, and he did let's talk about that. Wood Harris did a phenomenal job
No,
playing Brooke Payne.
let me tell you something. Don't sleep on Wood Harris as an
Yeah,
actor. He does
yeah,
not get the accolade. That he is a
yeah.
great actor.
He did a
So
great
yeah,
job. He did a
yeah.
great job as Brooke Payne. And then Dwayne Martin, some people don't know, but that's like my crush. That's been my crush for like since he was in Up All Night.
Hold on, wait a minute. So you don't kick Richard T. Jones to the curb?
No, Dwayne Martin was always first. And then
Really?
it was Dwayne Martin was since Up All Night. Remember with Patti LaBelle, Vivica Fox?
Yeah.
Like I've had the biggest crush on him for forever. But and so it's him and Richard T. Jones. I don't know why, but those are like my two. So I don't know, I don't know. It's something about their I'm a person I'm not always just attracted to like face or body. It gotta be some type of vibe that they're giving off, some type of, and that's what I don't know what it is about them two, but yup, those is my two.
She's singing They Give a Fever, y'all. They give a fever.
I do. People was like, Dwayne Martin divorced Tisha Campbell. I'm like, like you got a shot type thing. I'm like, no. But it's so when I look at, let me just see. All right, I got all of those. All right, so they go through. So shocking things that happen in the movie. Many people didn't know. Okay, let me just say this. So in the movie, they even talk about this, of course. Bobby Brown was always true to who Bobby Brown is. He didn't hide. He was on Front Street. His highs, his lows, his misdiscretions, indiscretions. That was Bobby. He showed it. And even in the movie, they're like, Bobby, we do the same thing you do, but we keep ours. Remember Ralph and Ricky on the bus? They were having that conversation with Bobby. They like, we do the same things you do, but we keep it under wraps. Even when Bobby was a teenage dad to his son, Landon, his oldest son, Ralph at the same time had his girlfriend pregnant too, but Ralph was keeping his on the low, where Ralph was where Bobby was just like boldly Bobby.
But see, but that was who Bobby Brown sought out the limelight, even from the little kid when
it found you.
Yeah, exactly. But even when he initially, tried to do and it's kind of ironic that he went out to initially to be a solo artist and froze up that first time, grabbed his boys and started a group, and then got kicked out of the group.
That always bugs me. How you gonna start a group and they're gonna kick you out? And even in the movie, where Bobby Brown, they even showed where Mike was when Bobby stood up for Mike and was like, "No, don't let him out the group."
So you don't think he should have been kicked out of the group?
I don't think he should have been kicked out. No, but I think it was a blessing.
I think he should have been kicked out because you can't, like you said, you can't act the way that Bobby Brown acted when you're in a group. Now, if he was by himself, do your thing. That's you, because you can only bring you down.
Right.
But you were talking about at that time, that was when they were really starting to take off.
Bobby was wilding.
And he was wilding out. So
he was.
I think they had the right to save the group.
But you
And
know
they
what?
didn't want to do it. And they didn't want to do it.
Yeah,
They
because
didn't.
that wasn't the part. And that's
Right.
why even to this day, you will hear the other fellas saying that was wrong. We shouldn't have done that. Because even when Bobby had Mike's back, when Mike was being violent and harming, and Bobby wasn't being violent, he was just being a jerk pretty much, right? And even when Bobby in the movie they show where they were adamantly wanting to put Mike out the group. And Bobby was like, no, he tried to kill me, but he didn't. Let him stay. You know what I'm saying? So even with Bobby's sweet and gentle heart, he still wanted to do that. But I don't think that he should have. I think that the fellas, and even the fellas say this now, I think that they should have made the decision and not
they
the
did.
No, the manager made the decision. The manager brought it up, and the manager fed them. Now, do you want to lose this? They fed that. So anybody that's from the hood gonna be scared when he said, "Do you want to go back to the hood?"
Well, but was the manager being truthful with them?
No, I
Because
think
ask yourself this. Ask
about
yourself this. No, ask yourself
the boys
this.
still didn't get paid.
No, wait a minute. Let me ask you this. Would New Edition have survived if they kept Bobby Brown in the group? Would we still be talking about them today the way that we're talking about them if Bobby hadn't been kicked out of the group?
That's a good question. But I think that they would have, because I still think the talent, I think that they could have handled it differently. Maybe they could have suspended him, but it all happened the way it was supposed to be, because then Bobby wouldn't be Bobby Brown. So I get it, but I just don't like how, and they talk about this too now, how he infiltrated the manager. And infiltrated and said, don't you want to go back to the hood? You don't want your money. But then the manager ended up taking the money, and the boys didn't get no money, no way.
And I get that, but I also see the other side of it too.
Yeah, he was wild.
If I'm in a group and you wilding and you messing with my money,
yeah,
you messing with my money.
He didn't mess with because the manager took the money. So
no, I'm saying outside of
money.
No, what I'm saying is outside of I know, right? But that was a bad. But that had to do with their mamas, because and we can talk about that. Those contracts, the mothers were the ones that had a responsibility, and you can look at any of the music movies.
But
and you see
if you in the hood and you trying to get out the hood, and somebody, it's like some people think that just because you're in the record business that it's going to get you out the hood and you're going to make money. So I think that's what they were thinking of, not really having that formal education when it comes to that business. I think that they just were listening opposed to reading. Unfortunately, a lot of people do that when they want to get out their current situation. They just think music business equals money.
And that's
unsung.
Hopefully that's one of the messages that any of the today's artists, and I'm going to be talking about this on Clubhouse on Saturday with the host of the Clubhouse Bankrupt Proof Your Biz with Danya Zimmerman. We're going to be talking about bankrupt proofing your biz from an artist and musician's perspective.
Oh, that's
because
good.
you get so many of these artists, musicians that are so, and even entertainers, they're so hungry to get that spotlight that they don't take the time to take care of their finances.
True.
And make sure that from a legal perspective that they are protected.
True.
And that's what that was about. That's what even before New Edition, the Temptations went through it. The movie and the five heartbeats.
Everybody.
Same exact story. Even
you
Ray.
Watch Unsung. You see all of them.
Yep.
All the artists.
It's the same story.
Yep.
It's the same story where they're so money hungry. So I get what you're saying about that manager, but I will say that the manager was truthful in telling them, do you want, and it was, do you want to go back to the hood? Do you want to get out of where it is that you're trying to get from? And are you going to allow someone who we know you care about, that's your friend? We say it all the time, just as regular individuals, toxic people.
Yeah.
Keep toxic people out your life because they will bring you down.
Yeah.
And Bobby was being toxic.
I just don't like the fact how it happened with who it happened, and then finding out later that he really wasn't for them no way.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That was foul.
So I think that's the part that kind of gets me. Bobby was wilding. We already know, and all of that. And it's like at that time he was. So it's hard to keep a group together when that's happening. You know what I'm saying?
Even if you look at the movie The Five Heartbeats with Eddie Kane, Eddie had the addiction that he was dealing with, and the group had to get rid of Eddie because Eddie wasn't showing up for rehearsal.
Right.
He was doing drugs and everything like that. And they had to do what they had to do.
I agree.
Unfortunately, and they cared about him.
Because
it's just
the fear of going back to the hood, losing your dream. Yeah. And nobody wants that. And no one person can be bigger than the group type thing.
Yeah, and it's just crazy how those stories kind of correlate to each other. If you look at the Five Heartbeats, if you think about the Temptations, I mean, the stories were pretty much the same.
Yeah, it's deep. It's true. Because
I was like,
that, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like, ugh. And you're dealing with different personalities and all of that.
But and that's the thing about New Edition that I even though Bobby wasn't with the group any longer, the love that they still had for him, one, but two, just how successful, they were individually, and then of course the Belle Biv DeVoe, with Ralph trying to do his thing, with Bobby doing his thing, and then with Belle Biv, they went on to have, I think each of them only did one album. I think Belle Biv DeVoe did maybe one. I know they did the one Poison, maybe another one.
They did.
Did they do three? Yeah, because they did. Yeah. Ralph did the one, which was Sensitivity, the Sensitivity album.
No, he did more than one. He did Rated R too. They all had more than one.
Okay. Yeah. And then of course, Bobby was Bobby. He became who I believe that he would, like you were saying, who he was meant to become. And I really thought that he was a solo artist.
Yeah.
Just from the beginning, I believed he was a solo artist. That was him.
Even when Brooke Payne was like, how they showed, it was like, and everybody following, don't get out of step, and they look at little Bobby, because they know he about to wild at 9 years old, 10 years old, he about to wild out.
but that was who he was. Though.
That's what I was going to say. Some people, even as a child, like even working with children, I see the distinct personality of some of these kids. When I'm there, I'm like, I can see this little boy as a grown man, like picturing how they are. Their personalities dealing with kids every day is so distinct that Bobby Brown's was that. And I was that type of child too. Like my personality when I was little, good, bad, or indifferent is really the same way it is now. Talking, sensitive, not afraid to voice my feelings and opinions. It's still the same. So when you think about Bobby, like Bobby really was a star at a young age, even before he knew and he was scared to be a star, he was a star. Even if you look at, New Edition's videos, and they talked about it a little bit in the movie. Even if you look at New Edition's videos, even with a tie, he wasn't going to wear the tie like they did. He had to wrap the tie around his head. Like even he did so many different things to stand out and to be an original that honestly, he was not meant for a group. Because if you're going to act that way and then you don't want to do what the group does, a group has to be in order. It has to work as a well-oiled machine, and everybody has to play their part. Yeah. So Bobby was doing that until he wasn't. Like he really is not meant for a group. He really isn't. If you think about it.
And you can see, like you were just saying, that there's certain artists. Michael Jackson was certainly one of them.
Yeah.
He was gonna be bigger than the Jackson Five.
Yeah.
Eddie Ruffins joining the Temptations. He was
Yep.
bigger, he was big.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was bigger than the Temptations, but you could tell he was someone
David
who
Ruffin.
needed to be an artist. Patti LaBelle. Patti
Mm-hmm.
LaBelle she's a solo artist.
Beyonce, Diana Ross.
Well, see, they gonna come for me because I me honestly, I believe that Beyonce wouldn't be Beyonce if she didn't start off with Destiny's Child.
I can see. I can go with that. I can go with that.
She doesn't become who she is without that group. The others, they made those groups. Eddie Ruffins.
They were great. Yeah.
You could see when Eddie Ruffins left the Temptations, they struggled to find someone like that. When Michael left the Jackson Five, we all know what happened there.
Right.
Patti LaBelle and LaBelle, even
Lionel Richie,
even
and Commodores.
Yeah,
Jeffrey
come on now, right?
LTG.
And even who was I just thinking about? Even Diana Ross.
Yeah, that's what I just said. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So you have those individuals that they made those groups, and they weren't, like you said, they weren't meant to be. Even though Bobby was the originator
you can play the game until you can't play the game no more.
So
like I just can't do it no more.
Yeah, so I mean, New Edition was a different cloth because the group survived without him, and Bobby survived without New Edition.
But Bobby Brown would have never quit. Because Bobby is the type of personality he thrived, even though he was being annoying to them. Like he is like a family type of loyal type of person. And even in the movie, they show where all of the guys are together, even because they're still in the same circle, still on the same MCA record label and all of that. So Bobby is constantly around them, but he's not part of the group. And they even show in different parts of the group, and even he talks about this in his book, but they showed it in there where his brothers were still there and he still felt like he was by himself. Like he felt like he just not so much missed being on stage with them. He did miss being on stage, but he missed the brotherhood, because they're like brothers at the end of the day. So that has to be difficult. And then also, like you were talking earlier, who loves rejection? That can do something to the heart and to the ego. Like, you know what I mean? So then now you really gonna show off. You really gonna act out. You really not gonna give a care because now you you got something to prove.
Yeah.
You got something to prove. And Bobby went out there with a vengeance because he had something to prove. And the charts didn't sell themselves and people wanted to see. And when Bobby first came out, it was a slow, like you said, with Girlfriend. And the King of Stage album, it was a slow up. But once he got with Teddy Riley and went, and they show it in the show, even in the movie where he goes to Teddy Riley's house and was like, I want some of that. He's telling them, what kind of thing he wants. And I just want to talk about Ricky Bell, that scene. Because
that was tough. That was tough. I didn't know that.
That's what I was gonna say. Even as a diehard that I am, I didn't know the severity of Ricky Bell. So that is, people would think that, okay, that is one thing that I did not know. And when I talk to so many Ride or Die New Edition fans, they don't know that. They knew, we knew a little bit, but we didn't know that. And everybody, when I watched that was something that I learned, the severity of that. We knew all of them dibbled and dabbled, and they talked about it in the movie, and we knew that that's what it was. But he was what people would have thought Bobby Brown level.
Well, that was Bobby Brown level, wasn't it?
That's what I'm saying. Okay. But see, what I'm saying is Bobby was out here with his. Ricky was in. So everybody wanted to dog Bobby, and they all was going through it, especially, well, not Ronnie. But
I think, but do you think was and Ronnie and Ralph didn't seem to go through
They
a
did,
whole
they
lot.
dibbled and dabbled, but they didn't go through a whole lot. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Yeah. But Ricky struggled. And that scene when I'm telling you, shout out to Chris Robinson in Baltimore, the director, the way he directed that and the script, the way that was written. And it was a phenomenal movie, miniseries. It really was. But Ricky Bell, we're talking about the part where his wife Amy, they were in there, in the house, and he was acting weird, and she thought he had food, but then he had drugs, and then the scene where he's in the bathroom and he really, so the thing with Ricky, he was addicted to drugs because he was masking, because he was really addicted to fame. He was really addicted to the stage in the New Edition. And because he didn't have that anymore, the drug part went skyrocketing because something was missing. So even when he was sitting in the group and he was talking about his addictions, that was deep. Like that whole thing, what you think about that? Like, I didn't know. I didn't know.
Yeah, and that, but see, we say this all the time. We say it about the industry, about the entertainment industry. That industry, I think the entertainment industry and politics are two industries that will chew you up, spit you out, and totally destroy you if you allow it to consume. It can consume you.
Yeah.
It consumes you because of whether it's the fame, whether it's the money, whether it's the power, all of those things, they themselves can be addictive.
Yeah.
And like you said, with Ricky, and he says that line when he's talking to his wife, when he's telling her that they're gonna lose the house and everything like that, and she's like, "But you Ricky Bell."
She's like, "Go do your job," like type thing.
He's like, "No, New Edition is all I know." Yeah.
That's
He's like,
deep.
"New Edition is all I know." He said, "This is all that I know how to do."
Because think about how little they were.
Yeah.
Like, you ain't working at the at CVS.
No, but check that out. Even not just with Ricky, but even the scene when Ronnie goes to real estate class, they were like, "Ronnie DeVoe?"
And he still got his real estate company to this day.
Exactly.
But, he still got that investment. But yeah, that has to be. And then Ronnie is the type that was like, you know what? I'm gonna get a meanwhile until y'all fools start acting right. I ain't gonna sit back. I'm gonna go to realty. I'm gonna start DeVoe, realty, because y'all.
But that was smart, though.
That was super smart.
I mean, because
Ronnie to go from New Edition in there, he like, yeah. So, but that has to be, I don't want to say humiliating. It has to be.
For what? For which one?
Jarring. For when people do that, when people be like, "Oh, you're such and such, and you're here," it has to give some type of shock and jarring, but jarring effect. But Ronnie didn't care. He was like, "This is what I need to do, and I'm gonna sit right here in this class."
But the thing of it is, I could see if it were a 9 to 5, type
it's
job.
Entrepreneurial.
But but that real estate, shoot, you know what you can do with a real estate license?
Got it to the day. But see, people's mind, I'm talking about, we know as business, but people think celebrity is up here, like they wouldn't be sitting next to you in a class. I think that's really the other people, but not him. He like, I'm gonna go ahead and do this, and he still got DeVoe Realty. He's still killing the game in ATL. So I think that was a very wise decision and investment.
Absolutely, and that just goes to show you the level that Ronnie was on, as opposed to the other ones. The level head that he had, that he was always. You could tell he was business minded. Him and Michael were probably the two most business minded. When it came to saying, hey, you know what, New Edition ain't gonna last always.
Yeah.
So I've got to find something in addition to creating the New Edition, creating what we do as New Edition, but
Yeah.
I have something else that I'll have, that multiple streams of income
Yeah.
that will allow me to be able to do that. So that was what I did pull from the movie, especially about Ronnie, and even about Michael, with what he did with starting or finding, or when they found him, Boys to Men, when they found him and approached him the same way that New Edition approached. Brooke Payne.
With Ronnie, like they say in the movie, like even when Bobby said, when I knew that I pissed off Ronnie, when I pissed you off, I knew I went too far, because Ronnie was the level-headed one. And he was like, I knew when I pissed you off, then I went too far. And that's some accountability, and that's some realness. And it's just because Ronnie had it up to when Brooke Payne had that heart attack, and they were all in there fighting, and Bobby was like, that's my uncle too. That's everybody was like, Stro, what's going on? And Ronnie had it up there. He had it with Bobby. And when Ronnie snapped, that's when Bobby went too far. And that's when even Bobby knew he went too far, because I think that Bobby, often acted off of his emotion and acted off of the abuse, the addiction. And everybody can take that, but for so long before somebody is going to get hurt, somebody's going to pop off, somebody's going to stop speaking, all of that. And then Basine is on, so I want to pull her on
all right,
to talk about
and before
go ahead.
And before you go to Basine, you brought up something that I wanted to talk about too. You talked about when because you were kind of upset when Johnny joined the group.
I was.
But I'm gonna tell you this: Johnny Gill was the best thing that ever happened to New Edition.
Say that.
Because and let me tell you why. When they sang that song, "Boys to Men," which is one of my favorite songs, what happened was, and from a singing perspective, Ralph was first tenor, Ricky was first tenor.
Come on, church.
Bobby, I know, right? Bobby was probably second tenor, and Ronnie and Mike would just they would just sing,
like Ralph said, I'm here doing all the work and you sitting here modeling.
I'm just sitting in the background, like me. I'm like, I can sound good when I'm with 50 other men, you know what I'm saying? But when Johnny came to the group, he put the book in to the singing from just strictly from a singing perspective, because his voice was that burst.
Kind of changed him from
right. It was actually perfect timing, but it filled out their vocal range and what they could do. Ralph could sing the higher songs or the higher notes. Johnny was there to sing the deeper baritone. I don't know if he said necessarily sang bass.
Yeah.
So they were bookends to each other. And even in the movie, if you notice, even the way that they were sitting was musically how they sat. You had Ralph on one end, you had Mike, Ronnie, Ricky in the middle, you had Johnny on the other end. Even when they sing the song "Sorry You're Not My Kind of Girl," all of that's how they always.
I like that bookends. I never thought about they are like bookends, because then everybody else is in the middle. That's because even to this day, even with Can You Stand the Rain, how they did it, and even when I just saw them a couple of weeks ago, those two together. So
I'm showing a little bit of what I learned when I was singing on the Brotherhood Choir about, but it's bookends, and what that does is it rounds out the sound of their voices, so you get an even spread of the voices. So he was the best thing.
But when I was young, I wasn't caring about no bookends. I was mad that Bobby was on and Johnny was in. And I didn't care about no bookends back then. But as an adult, I could see. I just was mad that Bobby was gone, and here comes Johnny. He needed to stay with Stacey Matisol and Perfect Combination. That's what I thought.
No, I'm gonna take you even before. I'm gonna take you even before Perfect Combination.
Where
What's the song?
we
My
go
favorite Johnny Gill
from
song.
here. Where do we go from here?
No.
Oh, when he was on the piano. When he was on the piano with the Jerry curl. Crazy?
Yep.
Was it Crazy?
Yeah, I think Half Crazy. That's it. Half
Crazy.
Crazy.
Yep.
One of my
He
favorite
killed
Johnny
that
Gill
with that
songs.
Jerry curl.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean him. That's what we think of. You know, you and I, we go way back with them, so we know before he even came apart.
Yeah.
And I think even when Mike asked Johnny to join the group, I think that was probably one of the things that Mike had thought about, the voice of Johnny Gill.
Because Mike got scared because Mike and Ronnie don't do much singing, and they were scared that their group was going to be in it. So they needed to get a strong singer just in case Ralph left.
Correct. Yep.
But that was sneaky too, and even they showed in the movie that Mike was sneaky. He didn't even tell nobody. Ralph comes in like, what you mean? And Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis like, I don't want to be in the middle of this. Y'all didn't tell the group that this boy was, and Johnny didn't know. Imagine Johnny was like, well, let me bring
what did I walk into?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, bring it.
And then Ralph said, "New edition drama." That's what Ralph in the movie, basically, he was like, new edition drama. He said, this is new edition. Like, we already got the drama and you now just adding to it. All right, Basine, you ready, girl?
Yep.
Let's see. Basine, you ready? We got you on. We don't see you. I need to see you before I pull you back on. Okay, there she is. All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. The number one fan of More Than Just a Movie and the number two fan of Bobby Brown, because I'm number one. Basine, welcome to More Than Just a Movie. What happened to Bible study?
God know my heart.
She got her in it. She's supposed to be in Bible study.
Y'all are a mess. I'm telling y'all, they are for sure NE for lifers, y'all. They are NE for lifers. Let me tell y'all.
Child, I don't know if you heard when I talked about when we seen the movie. We got a chance to see the movie. You know, you invited me. She got them tickets.
Yeah, to the screening. Yeah,
to the screening. I talked about that. I don't know if you heard it. But go ahead.
No, I didn't hear that part. I was trying to fix my mom dinner, so I was in and out.
But we talked about the screening.
You were the first person that came to mind when I got those tickets, when I won them. I think I won them over the radio.
You did.
Yeah, Big Jagger was the one I won those tickets for, and then I won the No, it wasn't Big Jagger. Big Jagger was the Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, Mike. What's her name? Is it Asia?
Yeah, you won the tickets to there.
Yeah, it was 102.3 where I won the tickets. And the question that I was asked was to name 3 of New Edition songs from the Candy Girl album. Now, mind you, I was just listening to Pandora all day that day of New Edition.
So you was already ready.
I was beyond ready. So I said, she said, except I couldn't say Candy Girl. So I said, is this the end?
It's the end.
And
Popcorn Love, Jealous Girl.
Yeah, it was those 3.
I think I said Popcorn Love, Is This the End? But I also said Pass the Beat.
Oh, that, yeah.
And when I said Pass the Beat, she said, oh, you really a fan, aren't you?
Pass the beat.
She said, because when you said it, she was looking at the album, I guess, to see which ones I was going to call out. And so when I said Pass the Beat, she was like, oh, you really are a fan. I was like, yes, I am, ma'am, because I was just listening to them all day today. So yes, I am a fan. Now, I came in. Who did we see?
I said you won those tickets, and who did you call?
I called Kendéll, who I met at the Bobby Brown book signing.
Come on now.
But look, y'all ain't got a lot of time, dog, by it.
No, you go.
I came in at the tail end. Well, I've been listening for the last at least 20 minutes. And Leroy, Dr. Leroy.
What's she about to say?
You are allowed to say that Johnny Gill was the best thing that happened in New Edition. However, I'm not going to allow other people to say that in my ear. I will allow you. Johnny Gill was a good fit and a special addition.
Right. I get what you're saying.
To the group.
Right.
But did he make the group? No, because that goes back to even Bobby Brown being how he was. No one person makes the group.
I'm going to ask you the same thing, Basin. Oh, man. I'm going to ask you this too, Basin, that I asked Kendéll. Do you think that before Johnny joined the group, do you think New Edition would have survived had he not joined the group? Because you got to remember, Bobby had left.
I don't think the longevity would have continued, because even when they did the soundtrack for Karate Kid.
Because I know they did, was that Blue Moon?
Yeah, the Blue Moon was, some of the songs was in Karate Kid. Earth Angel was the one that I remember.
Mm-hmm. And that really Christmas song is fire. Christmas all over the world, that's still fire.
But Bobby is
I love that. Yeah, I definitely love that.
Bobby is on the Christmas album. So Bobby is not without the Christmas album.
Really?
Okay. Yes, really.
Oh, okay.
But shortly after they did the Christmas album, Bobby vacated. Because I followed Bobby, I did not pay a lot of attention to New Edition.
She always say that.
So when they did Earth Angel, it was like, y'all, I still like y'all, but I'm on Bobby.
Right.
I was on Bobby like a fly on some meth. Like that Bobby was just, he's my heart. Wherever Bobby went, they was gonna go. And I would have never went back to New Edition with the fan mentality. New Edition probably would just been another group that I like, or I love to hear, or I grew up with, kind of thing. So yes, I do agree that Johnny became a perfect combination, no pun intended, to the group. and I think the guys, even now with their maturity, they even see that, and Bobby can even respect that.
Yeah.
From even his perspective, that Johnny became that fit that New Edition needed to go.
That they never knew they needed, because the way Mike was underhanded, they didn't know that they needed that. And then once, even in the movie, they show once he's saying, "Can you stand the rain?" and "These are the things to boys to men." When they saw how that rounded out the sound, they was like, "Yo!" But like they didn't know. Like they knew who Johnny was, but they didn't know how that would connect. And when they show that in the movie, they're like, ugh. So when you think about the movie, back, what do you? Oh, go ahead, Leroy. And then when
I was just gonna say really quickly, they needed each other. Johnny needed New Edition, and New Edition needed Johnny. Yeah. It was like you were saying, Basine, they were a perfect fit for each other.
Yeah.
In that.
You get it, Leroy. You get it.
But it's true, because even Johnny, although he had success with the My album and the Johnny Gill album and all of that, I don't think that all his fans from Half Crazy and Perfect Combination, I don't think his fan group would have been that strong had he not been in New Edition before My.
Yeah.
And all of that.
Yeah. Now, he was Kendéll. He was the opposite. He was a single artist that went into a group, because usually it's the other way around. They actually leave groups to become single artists. He was one that came into a group.
He came in, and it worked. To me, it worked. I guess both. It worked in both of their favor.
Yeah.
And then when he went to do solo, I'm telling you, those fans weren't just from Half Crazy and Perfect Combination. they was from New Edition too. But sidebar real quick before you go, but when we went to go see Johnny Gill and Ralph, I kept telling my girlfriend Chanel, I was like, why these women look so old? And we were like, maybe that's the group that's going to see Johnny. Because the New Edition crowd don't look that old.
Yeah.
Going to see Johnny and they had their old outfits on with the glitter and the sparkle, especially in Atlantic City. Honey, they was ready. And I was telling Chanel, I was like, why these ladies look so old? And even Chanel was like, I think they the ones coming to see Johnny because New Edition crowds don't look like that.
Nope.
No. And then the ones that look kind of youthful, they was coming to see Ralph and New Edition.
But they've always been. I think Johnny Gill has always had a older. He's always had a mature voice.
Too. He's the oldest member of the New Edition too.
Is he? Okay. I didn't realize that. But he's always had a mature voice. So I think he's always brought that mature crowd to to his audiences and everything too. So.
He brought that LSG crowd out that night.
Yep. That was tight too. Don't sleep on that one album by LSG because that was a great album that they put together.
That was good.
But see, New Edition too, just being the iconic group that they are, they make even solo artists want to be a part of a group. And I say that because Keith Sweat, although he had, pivotal success as a solo artist, he still longed to be part of a group to even just get a feel and get his feet wet by saying, I have two people or more, around me, and we collaborating.
Yeah.
Right.
So let's talk about your favorite part. Cause I know, cause with Johnny Gill, people don't realize Johnny Gill is 56 and right under him is Ricky Bell, 55. They're the oldest ones. And then everyone else falls under that, and then Ronnie. But let's talk about your favorite parts in the movie, Basine. And of course,
first I want to say it took 3 nights. That alone tells you the longevity of their story. Now, me, like Kendéll said, us NE for lifers did not have that clue about Ricky's situation. So although I was sad that he had to go through that, it gave me more respect for him as a person to even reveal that.
Yes.
Especially knowing how near and dear the group is to everybody. And that took courage. Yeah. That took humility.
Yeah.
And I think even what we heard him say at the movie premiere, if one person learned from what he did to get to that point, it wasn't in vain that he shared his story.
Yeah.
And my favorite part of the movie is all of it. Like I'm petitioning for them to put that on DVD so that they can get some more money, because we're gonna make New Edition billionaires in a minute if they put the Bobby Brown story.
Some people ain't got DVD players no more.
Well, Blu-rays, whatever, they need to put it on something where we can pop something in. And my DVR stand on 90% because I won't erase the story.
Couldn't they put it?
Guess what? It's on Hulu. It's on.
That's what I was gonna say. Couldn't they put it on Netflix?
I want it in my possession. No, I don't even want it on Netflix. I need it in my possession. The same way I have albums.
I feel you on that.
Just in case they take it off. I was watching it again. I just had it on in background, and my daughter called. She was like, "What? I had New Edition." So she's like, "You don't need that to watch it again to know." And I just wanted it running on background. That's how I do with Bobby Brown's story. I done seen it a million times, and sometimes it just be background, and then I just walk in and catch a part. Walk in. It's just comfort. It feels like comfort to me.
Yeah,
it's so weird, but it does. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and when the New Edition story came out, honestly, I felt like I was 13 again, just looking at
Yep.
the movie.
That was
just looking at the movie.
That's what I was just even ready to say.
It gave me such a giddiness that after they did the movie, I literally have moments when I'm going through something and I'm like, let me just put on my boys. Let me just.
That's what I'm saying.
Joe will come in the bedroom and be like, "You looking at them again?" Yes. In order to keep my joy, yes. Yeah. I'm looking at all the YouTube clips. I mean, it's fine to have the clips on YouTube, but like I say, I need to have it. I need to have a library of my doing dishes stuff. So they need to stop playing and put that on DVD, Blu-ray, whatever they put it on. If they put on a disc that's smaller than my hand, I'm gonna buy it. Whatever.
And that was a great thing. And that was a great thing about the movie, the 3-day, docu-series. What it did was, for all of the viewers, if you notice, most of us that were watching it, it took us back to that music. The music, all of us loved the music. And I mean, everybody knows the dance steps that everybody was trying to do to "If It Isn't Love."
I still got
who does it?
I'm at a concert, I'm doing it right in my right. I don't sit down. I don't sit down at a concert, and I do it right there.
It's just it really is, and basically, like you were saying, I think it took all of us back to those years, growing up with that music and having that kind of feeling that we got from it, going back. And that's what you were talking about, Kendéll, when you were talking about your children already knew it. They got to, and those that were watching it, hopefully they watched it with their kids so that they got introduced to seeing what, New Edition, who New Edition was, what they went through, and even the true life stories. Because like you said, they touched on each individual part, each person's life.
Yeah.
In there, all of them.
Yeah.
And one thing I shared with Kendéll when we did the iPod for Bobby Brown's birthday.
Oh, we did it. She was on the iPod, the podcast girl.
The podcast girl, you know what I'm trying to say. Thank you. Shine. I know it's called Shine. Kudos to Shine. The podcast when we did Bobby Brown's birthday. I shared with Kendéll that had I not been into Bobby Brown the way I was, me being promiscuous probably would have been worse. Me having that abandonment spirit from being in foster care, my mentality probably would have been worse. But New Edition's music and Bobby Brown music became truly the soundtrack that kept me on track.
Woo! You gotta speak that word. That's a word.
When I listen to Bobby Brown, I get such a giddiness and joyfulness.
Let me just pause. She said that New Edition's movie soundtrack kept her on track. Now tell me, music
me on the right track.
On the right track. Tell me, music doesn't have a power to change, to inspire.
And so when I would listen to certain lyrics of Bobby Brown, it kept my mind on wanting good. It kept my mind on wanting, that man that will call me his tenderoni. That man that will say, I just want to rock with you, baby.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, Basie. I don't think there's a woman alive that is a part of our era that Bobby Brown was not singing to her. If her name wasn't Roni, it was Roni for that song. He was singing. He was singing to her.
He started it off. He wrote the song for his daughter, but then it took a whole but it took a whole nother turn, and we done made it.
But that's just like the song by Angela Winbush, the song "Smile." Your Smile.
Yeah.
She wrote that for, I think it was like a grandmother or something like that, or a grandpa, somebody. But everybody took it in a whole different way. In the way that the way that we received it. But yeah, and all of y'all took that really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's how
Think we
music
lost it,
is.
but
But that's how music
yeah,
is. Like you make it what you want to make it.
yeah. And every single one of y'all women, y'all was Ronnie. I had a friend of mine. Her name was Ronnie.
Oh,
She was like, yeah, Bobby wrote that song for me.
I know that's probably close to it, but it's so I'm
Right,
sure
right.
she'll come back. But if you know what else was good, here she comes. But you know what else was good, Leroy,
What's
is
that?
how the movie was so right. How they even duplicated the album covers. Like
Yes.
they
Yep.
duplicated the
Absolutely.
videos, they
Yep.
duplicated the album covers. The way
Yep.
I'm telling you, this was top
Yeah.
tier. This wasn't no
Yeah.
janky, cheap movie.
Yeah.
This was top tier.
Yeah.
From the casting, the
BT.
sets, to
Yeah.
the recreation of top
Yeah.
tier.
BT spared no expense for putting that on. They really didn't.
Top tier.
I don't know what the budget was, but they were like, okay, they basically wrote a blank check and said how
Yep.
much you need.
And that shows that they knew that if they were doing a new edition story because of their
Yeah.
legacy, they could not be janky and half stepping. Like they
Yeah.
had to bring it, because if you're waiting almost 40 years
Yeah.
to do a show, it gotta be. They ain't no, and this is no
Yeah.
diss to the other groups, but they ain't the Boys and ABC
Right.
and all of them other.
All of them other ones. Yep.
Like you gotta come. You
Yeah.
gotta come correct. And they did. I wish
Yeah.
we did know the budget. So Jesse Collins Entertainment over at BET, he was heading this and spearheading this, and
Okay.
he was a New Edition fan, still is a New Edition fan. So I love
Yeah.
the fact that Jesse Collins over there at BET was a New Edition fan, is a New Edition fan. And, you know, Stephen Hill, I don't know if he had anything to do with part of it. He was in the movie talking about New Edition. But so when fans, that's what I was saying earlier, Leroy, and I was telling him, Basine, that even the stars and the celebrities and the people that other people look up to are New Edition fans. Even the head exec at BET. So that's his group. So he wasn't going to bring nothing sloppy. Clearly, because this was top tier from everything, from top to bottom. What y'all got to say? And then I'm gonna let y'all have the last, because you know I could talk all day about them. But what you want to say, Basine, since you are a guest?
I want to say that I like I say, at the end of the day, I'm gonna ride New Edition and Bobby Brown till the wheels fall off.
To the wheels fall.
And I a lot of times I even do say New Edition name before Bobby Brown, because Bobby was the beginning of New Edition. And it's like New Edition was Bobby Brown's birthplace.
I like that.
Then he came out the womb and ran amok, and then he had to come back home. So he
that's just like the wayward child. That's
exactly. He became prodigal son.
He was the prodigal son.
The prodigal brother of New Edition.
Yeah. And he came back. Like they said in Martin, you can always come home.
You can always come home.
Home again. He was the prodigal one.
And New Edition and Bobby Brown, all, like Leroy was saying, and BBD and Ralph and Johnny, they all had their separate entities.
Yeah.
So, you know, when people started saying they were the super group, they are that super group. The Temptations can't even say that individuals, you know, went out and really had great success.
Yeah.
These people, Ralph had great success because he still has a great fan base by himself. Yeah. Johnny has great success because he still has a fan base by himself. BBD and Bobby Brown, they all still have the togetherness and separateness that to me is like a revolving door.
Yeah.
And twins as far as their success.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, New Edition's story will continue to cross generations.
Yeah, I agree.
Because even those 16-year-olds and 10-year-olds and maybe even 5-year-olds, that are learning and appreciating New Edition now, they will in turn teach their children and show their children, this is what I was listening to when I was 10.
Yeah.
And they're going to be 21 and 30 years old, sharing it with their children. Yeah. And I can honestly say, we can't really, well, for me, I can't say that about the Jacksons or the Temptations.
That's what I said.
Because New Edition to me is in the middle.
About 62 members coming in and out of there. I'm like, who is that?
I can't even keep up with them members. And when Otis goes, to me,
Otis ain't gonna be the same. Melvin. And
the thing of it is with the Temptations, they believe it or not, they're still on tour. They still have a new Temptation. I'm just like, what? Like,
because Otis the only one. When they say, ain't nobody come to see you, Otis. Well, now they come to see Otis because he's the only one alive.
But remember, the Temptations kind of changed their name a little bit too because they had Temptations in the Review.
Yeah, because they had a copyright.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
So couldn't really say
New Edition will never be duplicated. Never, never, never. Nope. And I think that's another reason why they appreciate their fans when they did stuff separately. Because you couldn't have fill-ins to come in and join Belle Biv DeVoe. You couldn't have two other guys come in and join them to say that they're New Edition.
They love their fans. One thing.
And the thing of it is, and I said this at the beginning, Basing, is New Edition, all 6 members are still here.
Still here.
And the other groups lost members along the way, but New Edition still has all 6 of its members still out here. And that's the beautiful thing about it, is they're here to get
on tour together in 2022.
Yeah, they're still here to get the accolades that they deserve for the work that they put in, and the music that they created. Because, like y'all said, that music is going to outlive all of them.
Yes, it is, and us and everybody else.
Yep, it'll still be here. Yeah, that New Edition music will still be here past us.
Absolutely. Yeah. And one thing I gotta say about the movie where it displayed and what New Edition displays and represents, period, is brotherhood. Like it's a true brotherhood in a family. Because no matter how bad it gets, no matter how someone is pissed off, how somebody is angry, what person did to what run amok Bobby did, what happened with RBRM and where it left Ralph, what Johnny did with the name and the copyright if he didn't do this and what they did and what blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, when it's time to please the fans, when it's time to realize the value of brotherhood, when it's time to be there when somebody's parent dies, somebody gets married, when somebody's baby's born, when somebody's baby passes away, they all come back together. It's much bigger than New Edition. It is the brotherhood of New Edition. If we don't know one thing, we know that for sure.
Yeah, that's for
sure.
And
I think New Edition, hopefully, I can't even think of a group's name that has come after New Edition that we can look back at and even see that same kind of brotherhood. But even
and
now,
not say no NSYNC and Backstreet Boys. I'm telling the people be listening, watching. Somebody gonna be like, "What about Backstreet Boys and NSYNC?" They got that from New Edition.
Yeah, exactly. But Maurice Starr started them.
All those groups are the wannabe copyright of New Edition. They are the wannabes of copyright. Because I don't even think they would have come into being had New Edition not paved the way.
But like Leroy said, Maurice Starr from Boston created the Backstreet Boys.
Right. I mean, and we know why. The thing of it is, too, the only other group that I can think of that has had that kind of, maybe not longevity, but has had that kind of success is Boys to Men, that came out of New Edition. They're probably the only ones. Maybe, like we said, you think about the Temptations, maybe the OJs, the Osley Brothers. Those were,
But they still together. They didn't. No group has done stuff individually with the top notch success.
Absolutely,
of New Edition.
No,
but like I say, now I can't even picture groups like New Edition has been and still is out there now. Like,
well, you gotta think
the NSYNC and Backstreet, whoever all them people are. Like, where are they now?
But that's the thing. New Edition was, they to me they kind of stand alone because there's no other group that was like.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying now in this day's time.
Oh,
where are the groups? There's none.
Nah,
there's none.
I can't think of of any groups that are out there now.
That solo, that me, in the music industry now. And like you always saying, as far as Beyonce may not have gotten the clout had she not been with Destiny's Child. Her voice may not have been strong enough to just step out and be like, I'm Beyonce.
Right.
Hear me. I think it took that collaboration to get just a whiff of her and appreciate her before she went solo.
Yeah.
And so now people are now just, everything has become independent. I just want to do me kind of thing. It's like I say, that brotherhood now is almost like obsolete.
Yeah.
Especially if it's not a family thing. I see a little bit of it in the gospel, but, just mainstream, I don't see it anymore.
Look, sidebar, y'all. Sidebar. My watch says time to stand up, move a little for 1 minute, because this has been the longest More Than Just a Movie we've ever done. My watch is like, yo, stand up. You've been sitting too long. And I already knew. I asked Leroy, I was like, do you have your other show to do after? Because I knew New Edition, More Than Just a Movie was going to be longer than anybody. So if you're just tuning in to More Than Just a Movie for the first time, we typically don't do a 2-hour show. But because it's New Edition and because it's my channel and because Leroy and I do this show, because Basine loves New Edition, it's 2 hours. Look at the beauty of virtual shows and platforms like YouTube. Shout out to YouTube. But what I will say is, as we come to an end, if you missed it, please go back to see the beginning. I know, Basine, you got to catch the beginning.
And like, share, and save. Like, share, and save.
I will say,
empty jam on.
New Edition is better together. That's what I say, because even though I like them individually, even my boy Bobby Brown, I love to watch him by himself, but it's nothing that brings me joy when I see them together. It's a giddiness, it's a feeling that I'm telling you, I will sit in front of the TV like I'm 11 years old. It's nothing like seeing the camaraderie and the love that they have for each other and seeing them together. That is top for me. No matter
how you love it's a well-oiled engine.
I said that earlier.
That just keep giving you out that puff.
That song that they did Hit Me Off coming when they came back together.
When they was on Family Matters.
That jam right there culminates them as all six of them coming together. And like I told you, Kendéll, notice the vocal arrangement in that song, Hit Me Off. Each of them had their parts, but collectively, when they did that thing together, Bobby with his doing Bobby, you know what I'm saying? Ricky doing his part and Ralph doing his. It was, it's a beautiful, and that's what both of you all have said. That's the uniqueness, of New Edition. There's nobody else, I believe, that could do that. What New Edition did in that. There's nobody else. There's no other group, I believe, that could do something like that.
No. Even though we love the other groups, I'm sorry. New Edition is New Edition.
New Edition is undeniably the best super group that has crossed this world. And I'm so glad I have this lifetime to be a part of it.
Amen. And if you ask any other group who they looked up to, or other artists, I guarantee you they're gonna say New Edition or Bobby Brown. Period.
Yeah.
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 All right,
So
Leroy, what to tell the people?
No, if you haven't checked out the New Edition story, like Kendéll said, I think you can go to Hulu. You can,
It's
you
on
can watch.
BT Plus.
Yeah.
It's on also Paramount Plus as well.
Is it? Yeah. So check it out. It's definitely, you will enjoy it.
Netflix.
You will certainly enjoy it. It is an absolute. It's probably one of the best biopic series I've seen. Like you were saying about it being put together, just the whole story was so well put together. The accuracy in the story, and how they told it. They weren't afraid to, to put their stories out there, like we talked about with Ricky Bell.
Truth. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's that's one of this was we knew this was going to be fun. We knew it was going to be fun tonight.
Yeah. And they shared their truth. And I love, they say, even when I said it in the beginning, is every man had say in who played them. They spent time with them so they can pick up their mannerism, because Algie Smith, his mannerisms were just like Ralph's. Freaky. Woody was just like Bobby. Then you had, you can tell they spent time. Even Keith Powers, like I could just go on, like Ronnie, and then you had Luke and you had Elijah. You can tell that they took time and that all members were producers and they were very strategic about the story. They gave us a lot, and it was just, this is the difference, y'all, from having the artists involved with their story, because we have so many unauthorized biographies that people just go get anybody, like that boy that played Bobby with that jacked up wig that Angela Bassett, her part, and all of these other ones that they give. You can tell the difference between a quality biography, biopic, and when the artists are involved, then when it's unauthorized and they ain't got nothing to do.
Yeah.
That's what we see in the New Edition story.
And even at the movie premiere,
Leroy was saying something. And then you go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Beijing. No, go ahead.
At the movie premiere, just seeing Ricky with Elijah, that was kind of eerie, because it's like their mannerism was very similar.
That's what I'm saying. They taught them. It's crazy.
And it's almost like even Elijah was like, it's kind of hard even being around him.
Because it was like he was Ricky.
It's like it's almost like he felt like I'm looking at in a mirror. Like literally, he gave him that kind of homage that I feel like I'm looking in the mirror. Yeah. And like Ricky said, you did me, man. You did me.
It's crazy.
And the thing of it is, you can
someone
tell
pat you on the back that they portrayed you as well as they did.
Yeah. All of them, all the fellas,
and that just shows you, and it shows you the work that each of those actors put in to play those roles, because they had to learn those steps. Can you imagine having to learn those New Edition steps?
And the words at the same time.
All of it.
And theirs was done in such a small time frame. You got to figure they had, I don't know how long they had to rehearse to be able to learn the steps, and like you said, the words, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So shout out to them.
And you had two generations too. You had them little, and you had them going into men.
Yeah.
So it's not like you just had Elijah doing, just start off with the man's part of, or the adolescent part of New Edition. You had the elementary school.
And they did. Let's shout them out. Because like I said in the beginning, I met, I got the chance to do the video and spend time with little Bobby Brown. Because I was like, tell him who you are. He was like, I play little Bobby Brown. So let's shout out to the youngins. I don't want to forget about them. The ones that played New Edition when they were little. They did a great job. Great casting. Little Bobby Brown, oh my God, he looked just like Bobby Brown. I mean,
that head.
They did a phenomenal.
Bobby.
I don't want to forget the little ones and just talk about Woody and Algie and them. I want to talk about the little ones. Let me make sure Let me get their all of their names because I mentioned them earlier, but I don't want to forget them young ones out because if they're the way they perform, it was good. It was great. So when I see them on something else, I've seen them on other things, and I'm like, that's the little ones who played such and such, or who played such and such. I just want to.
The one that played Ricky, that's why I'm watching Stranger Things, because it was the one that played Ricky.
That's Caleb McLaughlin. I mentioned him earlier. I want to do it again. Miles Truitt played young Ronnie. You have where's the other little one? Where is he? Dante Hoagland played Michael, which was perfect. Jahai Diallo played Winston, played Ralph. Wow. And where's my boy, little boy? Tyler Marcel Williams played Bobby Brown. And they all look like him and did a phenomenal job. And then we had, let's not forget, we talked about the big ones, so I don't need to do that. We talked about the little ones, but let's give it up for Wood Harris again, Yvette Nicole Brown, Michael Rappaport, Tank, Lala Anthony, Monica Calhoun, Dwayne Martin, Lisa Nicole Carson. That was her first time back. We know that she's suffered from mental illness and she was kind of away from Hollywood and away from acting. She was famous for Ally McBeal, and she was also in Jason's Lyric. Love Jones. She came back with a vengeance. She did an amazing job in this movie. So thank you, Lisa Nicole Carson, Sandy McCree, who played Bobby Brown's mom, Carol Brown, with the drugs in the freezer. Faison Love, Brian Clark, Brandy Evans, Cynthia Rodriguez, who played Amy, which was Ricky's wife, which that was a great scene. She was in that. Crystal Harris, who played Xena, Ralph's first girlfriend and wife. Raven Bowens, or Bowens, I'm not sure. Jackie Long, and Cynthia K. McWilliams. So great cast. And shout out again to Kristen Robinson, director from Baltimore. All right, y'all. Leroy, tell them what to do. Y'all do that, and we out. 2 hours. We did that.
We need you to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and we want you to comment too. We know what was your favorite part of the New Edition movie. We know y'all watched it. We know y'all watched it, but just give us the comments about what y'all thoughts are on the New Edition movie, because it was absolutely one of the best TV pictures that I've seen put together. I mean, it had everybody in the family watching this and everything like that. So just subscribe, and hit that notification bell.
Thank you, Basine. Thank you for joining us on More Than Just
Thank you for having me on MT Jam.
Yes, she's our number one fan, y'all. She's faithful to this show. This is season 3 of More Than Just a Movie, where we break down classic Black films. The only way Leroy and I know how to do that is to give our opinions. We talk about life. We add more, because most of these movies are more than just a movie. So we have a different type of review show. I haven't seen it around yet. So we're going to try to get picked up on so many other platforms. And Basine, we thank you so much for being our number one fan. And sometimes you'll see her as the wrap up at the end, because this is what we gave her season 3, because she has been faithful listening to us. And she was supposed to have Bible study today. She said, God know her heart. And I knew she wasn't going to miss this one when I sent to the flyer. Black people love saying, God know my heart. Black people, that's what we say. But thank you, everybody, for watching More Than Just the Music. God loves y'all. Love Basine too. Remember, you're a star, so don't allow anyone to dim your shine. Also, tell us in the comments what your favorite New Edition songs are. All right, y'all. We out of here. Good night. God bless. Peace. Woo! All right, Leroy. We ain't never did 2 hours. I need to stretch my legs and eat something.
I know, me too. I gotta go I'm gonna fix me a hot dog, something real quick and easy.
I know that. So if you want to get on, if you want to talk about love tomorrow on IG, we can do it like about 12:30 or something. If you want to talk about the divorce thing.
No, I'm gonna be out tomorrow because I have to do my family. We do our food deliveries tomorrow. So I'll be out at that time around 12. I'll be out at 12:30. I don't know if I'm going to be back in time. I'll let you know. But more than likely I'm going to be out at 12:30.
Y'all feed the homeless and stuff?
No, we have a foundation. My family, we have the McKenzie Pantry Foundation. We have a food pantry in one of the elementary schools in Northwood Elementary School, and part of what we do is we deliver the food packs to the students from the school and some of the community over there in East Baltimore.
Yeah, so, by Morgan. I did not know you did that. Yeah. You need to be on the show talking about that so we can get you some food, some money, some all of that. That is
absolutely. Yeah, I love that because we are looking for donations right now. So
why didn't you tell me this before?
Yeah. My sister, because it's not mine. My sister, my younger sister created it. She's the director of it. I'm just a family member that helps out. What? Usually we do the delivery. Yeah, usually my mom and I do the deliveries on Saturdays. Okay. Yeah, definitely. I definitely love to talk about it because
it's some money.
Yeah, because it's definitely something that it was my sister's passion. It's our passion, and it's a way for us to be able to help. Because sometimes some of those students, that's the only food that they get is when they come to school. So
Leroy, I didn't think I could love you more.
Yeah, my sister said, "Hey, the school that she went to, that she had some of her daycare kids go to, they didn't have any food." So she thought of doing the pantry and said, "Hey, let's see what we can do about feeding the kids." And so we had a couple of partnerships with like food banks and a couple of food banks and stuff. But we're looking to do because we've been going now for I think 2018